Good evening and welcome into the Pacers Podcast Show. I'm Kyle Newman, your host.
And I'm Rhett Hensley, your co-host.
We have a great lineup for the next hour. We will
Great.
talk about the Pacers' latest offseason news.
Latest offseason.
Discuss the last of their Summer League games.
Last of their Summer League games.
Gotta love summer. Preview Indiana's upcoming season with their new squad.
New squad.
It's a new squad. And chat about off-season moves that still need to happen for the Pacers.
Off-season moves.
Things need to happen. They always do. Rhett Hensley, we are on our 21st Pacers podcast show. It's hard to believe. It seems like it was just yesterday that we thought about this idea for our Pacers and to do something, a little hobby, get something going. And what do you know? We put our minds to something, we do it. And now we're 21 shows in. How are you doing tonight, buddy? A little late.
I'm doing good. Got off work a little bit ago, just like you. And now we're off to the Pacers Podcast Show.
That's right. It is a little bit later because of us having to work. And, you know, we always find time to get it around our schedule every week. But we can't always guarantee anymore, really, I guess, that it'll be up by 8 o'clock because Rhett and I are busy working men.
Yes,
so,
life.
That is. But you know what? Even after a long day's work, we have just enough energy to talk Pacers basketball for the next hour. So we're going to get right into it, Rhett, because a lot's happened in a week. It's absolutely insane, but that's how it goes in the world of NBA offseason and basketball. So let's talk about some latest offseason news, Rhett, shall we?
I think
the Pacers have made a couple big moves, and this one though wouldn't say is a big move, but I want to just mention it off the bat because I like it. The Pacers acquired Chase Budinger from the Timberwolves for Domjan Rudez. And Red, I don't know about you, but I'm all right with Domjan getting out of here because he didn't perform for us last year, and he was brought in as a specialist, a three-point shooter, and he didn't get it done. He seemed to be very inconsistent. He really didn't even get a whole lot of minutes. But I do like this Chase Budinger, and I think that he will be better than he was for the Timberwolves in Indiana. He averaged about 7 points per game, but he has averaged 8.5 points per game in his NBA career. That's a decent, good bench player that I think that you know how the Indiana Pacers develop their bench over the years with Frank Vogel and Larry Bird. They do a great job. I think he will add to that. I think that the fact that he can shoot the three and he's got an inside game as well, and play some pretty good defense, can rebound. I think this guy will be a good acquisition, right? He's 6'7", 218 pounds. 6th year in the NBA. What do you think about this pickup for Indiana?
Well, I think it doesn't hurt us. That's for sure. I think that he's probably going to average, right around 8 points, kind of like you think. But I think that he's going to bring more to the table than what Domjan Rudez did.
Exactly.
Domjan Rudez did have a pretty good percentage for three-point ball. It's right around 40%. But
hard to believe.
Yes,
if you watch the games throughout the year.
I felt like I never saw him hit a shot.
Exactly. So maybe that percentage comes from the fact that he shot 2 a game or 3 a game and happened to make 1.
Yeah.
Or 2 of them to get to 50%. It's just he didn't shoot a lot, and it seemed when he did, he missed.
Yeah.
It's the games I watched.
Yeah. So, I think it might help us, but I knew that the Indiana Pacers wanted him last year, and they finally acquired him. So if that's what the Pacers want, that's what the Pacers get.
That's right, and I trust the Pacers. I will say this. I'm a little shocked that we paid him $5 million. That's
insane.
That's quite a bit of money. I expected maybe like in the $2.5, $3 million range, but
I think 3 would be pushing it.
Yeah, five's pretty much. So just with that amount of money there, I think he's got a little something to prove. here in Indiana, but I think that he will, and Larry Bird is pretty confident in him. He said, we're very glad to have Chase. He's a guy we think will fit in our rotation. He can shoot and drive to the basket, which works with how we want to play. Domjan was a special guy. He was great to have as part of our team. He will be missed by all. I think that's just being kind to the man. I don't know how
he
many
he did have good relationships with the players. That's for sure.
And that's
him and George Hill were good buds. So, I think that he might be missed by the players. I don't know about by the fans, but I think it's a win-win either way.
It is. I agree with that, Rhett. I do. So that was one of the bigger moves, but it was a move that was a good move that has happened in the past week. But this is a big move, Rhett, and this is something we talked about on the shows, and we were kind of hoping for. Would it happen? Is it a stretch? No, it happened. The Indiana Pacers signed forward Jordan Hill from the Los Angeles Lakers. Rhett, this was huge to fill a front court need.
Kept that Pacers faith.
That's right, you did. What do you think about this hiring, signing here?
I think it was great, and you really put the nail on the coffin when you said $5 million last week, because this man got paid $5 million
That's
to
right.
come in and play. And putting these two together, of Jordan Hill and Chase Budinger making $5 million both, it's kind of interesting seeing the two compared right there at $5 million. I can see who should be getting more and who should be getting less, but that's how it goes.
Exactly.
But I do not like the way that we signed him for just 1 year. I think it needed to be a multi-year contract for at least two years,
Yes.
and maybe a player option, which that probably should have been thrown in. I think this year, 1 year plus a player option. So
Exactly, and I agree with you. I was just about to mention that. I don't like that it was 1 year. $5 million, I think that's a steal. I think that just goes to show you with the Indiana Pacers and how brilliant Larry Bird is at managing the money for this team. But to be able to sign him here for that little, and for Jordan Hill wanting to come to Indiana, a fresh start, probably feels like, wow, you know what? The Pacers have a better chance at the title than the Lakers do. So let's try something new. Here's what I like. I love that he is so versatile, and he's a veteran big man, Rhett, that adds extremely important depth to this team after David West and Luis Scola and Roy Hibbert are gone. This was almost a necessary roster fill. He's coming off his best season as a pro. He averaged 12 points per game and 8 rebounds in 27 minutes. And he's entering his 7th season, right? He's going to be 28. So, though he's a veteran, he's still pretty young. And why not get the guy when he's in his prime, really?
Exactly. And, the thing is, with the Indiana Pacers, we had a prediction, Kyle, that they were going to get, 4th or 5th. And the Indiana Pacers exceeded my expectations for this offseason.
They did.
They really did.
And that's
so,
good. And that's where we'll be able to hear in the upcoming segment be able to talk about that. Are the predictions going to change with this because of these offseason moves, and where do they stand now, this new team? It'll be great to talk about a little bit. I do want to say, though, that Jordan Hill fits perfectly with this new style of play that Indiana's looking to go with, because really he's a power forward, and he's a little smaller where he can play that. But you know what? If the Pacers have to slide him to center to be able to fill this smaller style of play, then that's what they'll do. Right? I think it'll happen. I see Jordan
he's
Hill
a smaller guy.
He's
6'10".
Exactly.
So, Paul George is 6'9".
I know, and that's why it'll be so perfect. You have George at the 4 spot, and you put Jordan Hill at the center, the 5 spot, and then you bring Miles Turner off the bench, who's the same size at center there. I think that Larry Bird has done a brilliant job getting this team and this new style of play all together. He's really making it work, and it's shaping, it's really forming, Rhett. And we're seeing that, and I love I love that, and this was just a huge move. And not to mention, Rhett, getting Hibbert out. As we talked about on last week's show, Hibbert is gone, much needed, and it certainly helped with the freeing up the money, get a couple nice acquisitions here, and just time for change. Luis Scola leaving the Pacers. I was hoping that Indiana would sign him back, but he did leave. What do you think about that, Rhett, with Scola leaving?
It was kind of unexpected. I don't know if it's unexpected, but there was no news about him either signing with us or leaving. And, I was kind of shocked, as I would say. But, I did like Luis Scola. He brought a lot of energy off the bench.
He did.
But I think that he wants to start for the Raptors, and I think that's what's probably going to happen.
Right. It will be interesting to see how that plays out with him. Now, you just wonder what else can the Pacers do? What else can they do with the little money that they still have left? Can they still get another productive veteran player for cheap, for $1 million, for $2 million? Talk about that a little, Rhett. What do you think?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Well, I'll actually get to this. We'll actually get to this a little later in the last segment, talking about like off-season moves that still need to happen or could happen with the little money they have left. But so I'll save that question for a little bit. But Red, another thing that I wanted to talk with you about here, because this is kind of making the news here lately with us in the off-season, is apparently Larry Bird had to put Paul George into his place with some moves, basically, and this kind of was unexpected to me. I didn't even realize that Paul George wasn't happy about switching to the 4, because earlier on, we were reading and we had talked about on the shows, he had commented saying how he's looking forward to the change and he's going to do whatever it takes to help this team. But then some reports come out about saying he's not necessarily happy about it, and basically, I'm going to get his exact words here in a second. But I'm a little shocked, Red, that he came out and said something about the change this offseason. I don't know where it came from. What do you think about what he had to say? And then Larry Bird stepping in and saying that, Paul George doesn't make the decisions for this team.
Well, last I heard, Paul George was okay with the move.
Exactly.
He says that he loves the challenge, and he's always up for a new challenge. So I don't know what he was really coming off when he said that. But
yeah,
as far as I know.
Here's exactly what he said, and this is where, as far as I was too, he said he was indifferent to playing power forward, although he seemed less than convinced he could do so regularly. He said, "I'm a ball player. You put me anywhere on the court, I'm going to make the most out of it. It's not going to be logging 30 minutes at the power forward, whatever needs to be done. If I've got to play a couple of minutes at the power forward, I'm fine with it." He said, so when he says that, Red, that makes it sound like he doesn't want to be spending all of his time at the power forward. That's a little change from what it was in the beginning, where he was saying he's up for the new style of play. He sees no problem adjusting to the 4 and like he was all in. But those comments kind of make it sound like, okay, if I've got to play a couple of minutes at the power forward, I'm fine with it. Okay, a couple of minutes is not what Larry Bird's looking for.
I can see where he's coming from, because, that's a big switch. You're going into a whole different ball game when you're moving from, heck, he started out at shooting guard, moved to small forward, and now they're playing a power forward. So, it's a big step, and, I think that he can really excel, but I think he's going to get tore up on the defensive end of things.
See,
but
I don't know about that. I disagree with that.
He's not big enough. He's not strong enough.
Not yet, but he's getting stronger, and I think that he has a good
I'm
enough
getting stronger too, Kyle.
No, you're not. I think that he has this is why. He has the length, and he has proven his back-down ability. Even last year, the last 2 years, when he wasn't as big as he is now, that he can back players down, and the thing about him is he's so lengthy that he has a turnaround jumper and different post moves, and he can dunk incredibly well. That I think he'll be fine. It take some adjusting? Yes, but I'm not worried about that with Paul George. I think that his size, he will be fine playing it. I think defensively, that he's always been like a defensive first, all NBA first team defender is his motto, and
he's guarding people his size.
I think it will show. Yes, and I think that I'm actually more concerned about the jump from his game defensively at that position than offensively. I think that it'll be more of a challenge. I think it'll be more of a challenge for him defensively at the 4 than it will for him offensively. I think he's too talented. Now, I think it won't take him long to figure out defensively because he's such a great defender and he's so lengthy. He'll get help down low, but that's what the Pacers are signing up for. A lot of teams are doing that, where they're smaller, quicker style of play.
Yeah, and I don't know if you got confused, but I said that he's going to struggle on the defensive end, but offensively, that's where he's going to excel at, because he can play the top of the key against a power forward, and the thing is, they're going to make them step out and draw people away from the basket, and he's going to have that step on that power forward more than likely. So I mean, it's going to be his advantage. It's going to definitely be his advantage because they're definitely going to be dragging the double team if he starts making them. So
I agree with that. I appreciate Paul George voicing his opinion here, and obviously he's had a little change maybe as he's getting some work and understanding that it's a big jump and a challenge for him. I also appreciate Larry Bird stepping in with the authority because he has it. I like what he has to say about it. And Paul George has to realize that he doesn't make the decisions. And so, the last thing that this organization needs is him to be upset at the fact that, all right, I'm not going to be playing. I'm going to be playing this position more than I'd like to, and now there's going to be chemistry issues between management and all. That's the last thing this team needs. I think he needs to stick with what he said from the beginning, and he's willing to do whatever it is to help this team. And that's going to mean playing 3/4 of the game at the power forward position. For the whole season.
He definitely has more say than you'd think he does. He is obviously a player, and he's a superstar, as some would say.
He just doesn't have more say than the president of basketball operations.
But he can definitely persuade them, especially when it comes to, there's a no-trade clause in there, and he can definitely scare the crap out of them, that's for sure.
He could.
So I would definitely say the ball is in his court.
Larry Bird doesn't sound like
it. No pun intended.
I like that. But see, Larry Bird doesn't sound so worried. And it sounds, and Larry Bird's clear. What I like is he makes it clear that the ball is in his court. I don't think that Larry Bird has an issue with Paul George. I think they have a good relationship, but I think that he just is making it clear that whether it's Paul George or it's Rodney Stuckey or whoever, that he controls this team, and I'm sure he appreciates them stepping out and voicing their opinion. Although I think he'd probably rather it not be out in the media, but I like the fact that they're stepping in. I just hope this doesn't create some sort of an issue thing, because I think that if Paul George is going into this now thinking he's going to play just a few minutes at the power forward position, he's going to be very, very disappointed, because I don't see it happening. With this new style of play. So I hope this works out, but this kind of came up here in the offseason just a few days ago. Kind of shocked me hearing it. I hadn't read anything about it yet, but clearly these are his comments of what he had to say about it. But he did say he said he liked the Pacers' commitment to a faster tempo, and he thought that the acquisition of Monte Ellis and re-signing Rodney Stuckey helped that. He said those players would open up the floor for himself, George Hill, and C.J. Miles. He said, I didn't know it would be a drastic roster change, but I knew that was the direction this team needed to go to give ourselves a better chance of winning. And I really like that, Rhett, that he said that, and he's all in on these moves. That's good. I think that's going to be really help the chemistry here, that everyone's going to, it seems like quickly, no selfishness here. Everyone's going to work together. That's kind of been the motto of this Pacers team. And they really, you really gel chemistry-wise. Unselfish basketball, I think, will be very good thing for them. He also spoke to former teammates David West and Roy Hibbert, who are now with the Spurs and Lakers. He said, it's rough, but I felt like those two, Roy and David, kind of molded me and really guided me and helped me along the way to be in the position I'm in now to lead a team. We're a pretty veteran group still, but not in terms of how long we've played together. What do you think about those comments, Rhett?
I think it's a very accurate comment. They have David West and Roy Hibbert have played with Paul George for the longest time, and those are the two people that he's probably connected with. Him and Roy were good friends, and him and David West were good friends. But
absolutely.
Definitely.
I like the comments. They're respectful.
Yeah. Definitely he's going into I wouldn't say a younger team, but they're younger in chemistry wise. So
yeah, that's for sure, and it's very true. About these players. They were huge contribution of this core that Vogel built. And let's face it, Roy Hibbert was the first man here in 2008. He was the one who was set to be the franchise center. He was going to be the man. It took him a couple of years to get into his groove, and then he finally did, and then he finally lost it, and now he's gone. I guess that happens, but hopefully Paul George can get along and really coincide with these new teammates as well as he did with them. I'm really interested to see how that works out. But basically, the last bit of thing is Paul George has watched videotape and highlights of rookies Joe Young and Miles Turner in the Summer League, which will be a nice transition because that's the segment we're about to go into. But basically spoke on that. He said, I'm excited to see what they can do on the court. I think he is really happy, Rhett, with all of these offseason moves, and I really think he's going to love these young guys. What do you think about that and how they'll gel?
Yeah, exactly. These two are very promising players when it comes to basketball-wise. You had Joe Young, which is a second-round draft pick, scored 28 points in 2 games. He missed a couple games due to an illness, but it's very impressive. Both of the draft picks made the NBA TV All-Team Summer League. So that's very impressive.
It is indeed. And Rhett, it's a perfect transition into our next segment here, as we're going to talk about the final 2 Summer League games that Indiana had. Let's start with the one on Thursday, July 9th, so just about a week ago. The Pacers finally got a win. And that was against the Orlando Blue, 91-85, Rhett. Both of these games, I was not able to see the games, just catch the highlights, follow the updates from it. But were you able to see these games?
I was not able to see those. We actually don't get that channel, so.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but I did follow it on the updates. Miles Turner played in. He didn't play in the last 2 games.
Nope.
But Joe Young definitely did.
And boy, did he perform. How about 28 points the man
he did
had? He was 28, 9 of 17 from the field, made 5 3-pointers, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, Rhett. This man really showed...
Bad man.
Yeah, he really showed that he can get some momentum and he can explode.
His Twitter name says it all, Joey Buckets.
That's right.
So.
It's just very impressive, very impressive. Happy to see that the young point guard did well. And you know what? Talk about proving himself that maybe he needs to get more time than maybe was planned at the point guard position for the Pacers this year.
Exactly.
That's what I love about the summer league and all. But the second leading scorer for the Pacers, Osby, scored 12 points, had himself a good game. Not necessarily from the field, but he made 6 free throws. And then that was followed by Anaku and Rhett. So it really was the Joe Young show. As you mentioned, Miles Turner, the other player the Pacers were really interested in seeing who was rested. Christian Watford had 7 points. Poor guy just may not pan out. 3 of 4 from the field. A pretty good shooting performance, actually, for finally 4 games in, and he finally had a decent and played 11 minutes. But to go 3 of 4 from the field, 1 of 2 from downtown's not too bad. But I don't think any of these guys will end up being on the team right aside from our 2 young rookies.
Exactly. I think that Christian Watford shouldn't even been out on the Summer League team. But, it's not my decision.
No.
So, but yeah, I think the Summer League team was not very good prospects for the Indiana Pacers other than Miles Turner and Joe Young.
That's right.
Heck, even if Solomon Hill didn't even have a contract right now, I sure as heck wouldn't have signed him from his Summer League performance because that was just pathetic.
Just a tad.
Yeah.
Just a tad. Well, it was good that the Pacers got their first win there, but you know what? The final game, they didn't keep it going. Finished 1-4 in this summer league, losing just the night after on Friday the 10th against the Orlando Blue. They got killed, Rhett. 98-74. Just not a very good summer league team is probably the best way to put it. But, Rhett, how about another great game for Joey Buckets?
Yeah, Joey Buckets. Another great one. 28 points.
Incredible. Back-to-back games that he had 28 points, and then he even he turned it on. He's improved every single game. Since the couple that he didn't play at the beginning from his illness, but he had 28 points, 11 of 23 from the field, made 1 3-pointer, 5 of 8 from the free throw line, and then assist and a couple of rebounds across the board. But he took care of the ball, 2 turnovers. I like to see it, Rhett. This man's not afraid to shoot the ball and lead a team, really. And that's good because he's playing that position where the Pacers have desperately needed that.
Yeah, exactly. Joey Buckets, I think that he's definitely going to bring something to the Indiana Pacers. And a lot more than everybody, I think, thought. Heck, Joe Young could definitely be a potential. He could definitely be bigger than Miles Turner, I believe. He's shown some promising things, and watching his highlights and when he played for Oregon, the guy's just incredible.
Yeah.
And I think that we got him a steal in the second round. So
I agree with that, and
I think both are going to be great. By the way, not just single him out, but I think both will be great.
It's good to clarify that.
But I think that he could end up being something more than what Miles Turner is.
It would be great to see, for sure. The second leading scorers, 2 players tied with 11 points. Eddie and Octius had decent games. Now Eddie Day, he was 4-15 from the field. Not great shooting there, but that just goes to show that they really did not have anything else besides Young and Turner. Watford had 7 points again, but this was more of a struggling shooting night of the old Christian Watford we know. 1 of 6 from the field, 1 of 4 from downtown, 4 or 5 from the free throw line. Not impressive, Rhett, for old Watford. And, I was a little disappointed. I was hoping the ex-Hoosier was going to prove something here for the Pacers this second go-around, but he just really didn't, Rhett. He just really didn't, and he played almost 25 minutes in this last game.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really surprise me that I didn't like the guy when he played for IU, which I'm not even an IU fan, but I definitely did not think Christian Watford needed to be out there.
Well, that's
might as well bring in Jordan Holes or somebody.
Yeah, I wonder if that man's still playing in Europe. Yeah, it's
he actually just got married.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Fun fact for the night, huh?
And he's still playing overseas.
Well, good for him. Yeah, he certainly would have a better shot with the Pacers, I think, than Christian Watford did. That's for sure. But you know what, Rhett? That wrapped up the summer league. Finished 1-4, not great, but we saw what we wanted to see from our young men that we drafted, and that was the key. That was the key. And so we can kind of take that and transition into this next segment here, Rhett, and talk about and kind of preview Indiana's upcoming season with their new squad, including these new young guys. And now I will get to the question I was going to ask you earlier, Rhett. With this new squad, the moves the Pacers have made, where do you have the Pacers now? Where and how does your prediction change that you had before?
I think that they could be knocking all over the door of number 2 spot.
There you go.
I think that they definitely could be.
Respectable there.
It's kind of crazy how big of a jump they made in this off season. I mean, it was far more than what I expected. I expected, potentially getting rid of Roy Hibbert, but I didn't think we were going to bring in, keep Stuckey first of all, and bring in Monte Ellis, Jordan Hill, and with these 2 draft picks, I mean, they're showing even more potential than what everybody expected them to.
Indeed.
So I'm just hyped for the new season. I can't wait.
Yeah, I absolutely am hyped too, and that's respectable. I'm sticking with what I had for the Pacers, and that's the number 3 spot in the East. I think that these off-season moves certainly have helped their case to even solidify a solid 3 and to make even a deeper run. But I just will have to see. I'll have to see how this team gels when they start playing together in this new style of smaller, quicker style of play. How does that work? How long does it take? Is Paul George back and really healthy, looking like the old Paul George right away? Because I think that might put them behind a little bit as far as record-wise and seeding. That's why I'm going to stick with them at 3 still, because I still think it's not even close or a question. The Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be the number 1 seed and the favorites to win the title, as they should be. The ridiculous team that they have. But
I think the Indiana Pacers can definitely put up a fight against them.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I think that at number 2, I think the Chicago Bulls still have a little upper hand on the Pacers. So I'll put Indiana at number 3, although I would love to see those switched, of course. But I think that Indiana is solid in at number 3, and these moves certainly helped. But like I said, I'm curious with this whole Paul George situation, and it makes me a little nervous because I want to see the old Paul George that we know and love back. And I'm concerned if we will see it or how long it will take to see it. Because he's had all offseason. He did get to come back for 6 games this past year. And we saw flashes. But flashes aren't going to be good enough when you're talking about a leader and a superstar for this team. And I want to see...
If you're Flash Gordon.
Yes. Good point. But that's where I want to see, like, it all falls on Paul George. Forget all these other offseason moves. If Paul George is not back in the same Paul George, or God forbid he gets injured again in a big way, this team is done. And it concerns me that so much is on him, and especially now you're going to put him at the power forward position where he's going to really have to prove how much he's gotten stronger, banging down there, and it's going to be even more physical. It just really concerns me, Rhett. What about you?
I mean, I have great confidence that he's going to come back, at least close to the same what he was. I don't think that he's going to be one of those players that, broke his leg and then fell off the first face of the earth. But, I mean, there's a chance. And, I just don't see that happening with Paul George. The way that he's been working, we've seen Derrick Rose go down with multiple injuries, and this dude killed it last year. So,
yeah.
I don't see this happening with Paul George. Paul George has worked his butt off ever since he was able to start walking again, putting up shots, working out in the gym. I don't see this being a negative for the Indiana Pacers.
Well, that's good. I sure hope so. He's dunking off both feet. He's done his traditional training regimen, and he's preparing for another season with this new cast of teammates. And he's not giving his broken right leg a second thought, as he said, and that really is encouraging to me. He said, it almost seems like it happened ages ago. I forget sometimes that it happened less than a year ago, and that's a good thing because I've just been on the court working out. That's such good news for Indiana, Rhett. The fact that he's forgotten about it, and you know what? That's what he needs to do, because for him to play, he's going to go out there, and let's face it, he is risking it happening again. But you always risk those injuries. Even if it didn't happen, you're risking a serious injury. So it's your career, it's your livelihood. You got to go out there and lead this team.
Exactly.
And the fact that he's mentally right, that he's there, it makes me less worried. But nonetheless, so much falls on him, and this new outlook with this new squad. I'll tell you what, this new squad excites me. I see it, here's what I see happening in the starting lineup. I see George Hill starting this year out at point guard. I then see Rodney Stuckey playing the 2. I see C.J. Miles playing the 3. I see. I'm sorry. No, I'm gonna switch that up. I had completely forgot about the Monte Ellis as I'm trying to go through my head. I'll go.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna go George Hill at the point guard, the 1. I'm going to go Monte Ellis at the 2. I'm gonna go C.J. Miles at the 3, Paul George at the 4, and then this beautiful new acquisition, Jordan Hill, at the 5. That's my starting lineup for the Indiana Pacers, Rhett. And this new squad is great. And how great is it that they have the depth that off the bench can come Rodney Stuckey and Miles Turner and Joe Young. Maybe he'll see time at the point guard. But this team's already deep. I mean,
It's a deep team.
Has some depth already, and that is huge. And Solomon Hill, can the man prove himself coming in at the 3 spot for the Pacers? C.J. Miles, I don't know, Rhett, but this new squad excites me. That's what I think the starting lineup will be. Obviously, with Monte Ellis being there, it's going to be a huge acquisition, and no doubt will be in the starting lineup. Rhett, what do you think? Starting lineup, this new squad.
All right, well, I'm going to give it to you. George Hill, point guard. Monte Ellis, shooting guard. Small forward, C.J. Miles. Power forward, Paul George. And then I keep going back and forth on the starting center. But I think it's going to be Jordan Hill that's going to start. But I think that might change through the season.
You think it'll change? Why? And how?
I think that Miles Turner is going to be more productive, not just on the offensive end, but on the defensive end than Jordan Hill, because Jordan Hill is not a defensive oriented player. He can grab rebounds and he can put up some points, but Miles Turner, as we saw in the summer league, that dude's a blocking machine, just like Roy Hibbert was, and the dude can score.
That's right. I think the veteranness of Jordan Hill will trump Turner, especially at the start of the season, and I think the fact that he's coming off his best season. But I agree with you. Like, what I see would happen, I don't know if he'll overtake him in the starting lineup. I think Jordan Hill's too good for that.
I wouldn't say.
But I do think that what I see happening is Vogel strategically playing Turner and subbing him for Hill in the right moments. Okay, when there's runs and the Pacers need defense, they're going to put Miles Turner in the game. When they need to score, Jordan Hill will be in the game. At the end of the game, that's how I see it playing out.
Jordan Hill, I mean, he's not, as we've seen, he come off his best season. I mean, he might have came off his best season, but if you want to look back at his other seasons, the dude hasn't played.
No.
So, I mean, he put up, I think he was averaging right around 25 minutes a game, averaging like 12 points a game, almost 8 rebounds. But, I think Coach Vogel, even though Coach Vogel is not prone to starting or even playing rookies, if he sees the potential over Jordan Hill, he's definitely going to play him, because still Frank Vogel is a defensive-oriented type of coach, and if he sees that, he's definitely gonna play Miles Turner over Jordan Hill.
Yeah, and I think it'll be key because I believe he's an inch taller than him.
Yeah.
So in the end, that doesn't make much of a difference when you talk about the Pacers' smaller play at that center spot. An inch isn't a big deal, really.
I think that Miles Turner is a better scorer than Jordan Hill. And he's going to be, he can play that center spot, and he can perform it better than what Jordan Hill could for that starting offense, because he's a threat inside and he's a threat outside, and that's what the Pacers are going to need, especially with Paul George blasting it.
See,
so
I'll say that I'll agree when I see it outside of the summer league. He hasn't gotten NBA play, and I want to wait and see how he plays with the big boys in the NBA in real game format, because Jordan Hill has that veteran experience, and again, he's coming off his best year, which is what is the most important thing to me.
Doesn't take much.
I couldn't care less about the years before that. I care about the Jordan Hill that I saw last year, and he is a solid player. And
well, I mean, if you want to think about what he came off last year, who do you have on his team?
Exactly.
Swaggy P.
Terrible players.
Swaggy P.
Exactly. And that's what's even worse. Swaggy P hogged the ball. He's also an unselfish player, Jordan Hill, which is a very important factor in his game for the Pacers. But I want to see it from Miles Turner, because Jordan Hill proved what he has at that position for the Lakers last year and his improvement, and that's why the Pacers bring him in, and why I get so excited. Miles Turner has proven in a couple games in the summer league, but it's just he's young, and let's see. It's the same thing I said about him when we drafted him. I want to see how he plays out when he gets some NBA game experience under his belt. And can prove, that he can be the offensive scorer he showed in the summer league or in college in 1 year, and that he can play defense like he does. That's what I want to wait and see. But I think it'll take time. I definitely don't think he will start. I think the only way he ends up starting over Jordan Hill is if Jordan Hill ends up proving that he wasn't as good as he is in LA for some reason. whether it's not because he's not touching the ball or whatever, or in the certain scenarios that Miles Turner comes in when defense is needed especially, or when he's in and he's hitting shots and he's going to stay in. And then Jordan Hill is in offensively at the certain times of the game. That's what I could see Frank Vogel doing with these two players. But no doubt, I mean, the depth there is key.
I think that we can agree to disagree on this one, Kyle. But
absolutely.
I mean, I think that Miles Turner could potentially be a better center than Jordan Hill will ever be. But I mean, heck, if you want to look at the last 2 seasons, the guy has finally made it over like 70 games. I'm not sure why LA or even Houston never played him, but the last 2 seasons are pretty decent seasons for him, and that's what the Pacers need. I'll tell you what, those right there, the stats right there, 26 minutes a game. Those could be decent points off the bench.
Yep, either way.
Second chance points, he's a good rebounder, and that's where Miles Turner lacks.
He hustles, and that's what another thing I love about Jordan Hill is he doesn't give up on plays. He plays hard, gives that relentless effort, kind of like a Tristan Thompson on the boards, and that is so huge for Indiana, who over the years has really struggled rebounding the basketball thanks to a pathetic 7'2" big man who got out-rebounded by guards and forwards in a lot of games.
Hey, they're still in those rebounds.
Yeah, that's right. And so it'll be nice to see some change with the Pacers being able to actually rebound the ball. Not to mention the fact that Paul George will be able to improve his rebounding, and he's already a good rebounder. But being able to play that position is going to force him to have to be a better rebounder.
Exactly.
And so it's just going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. And we've left this name out, but Lavoy Allen is going to be a man that's going to is back and will be coming off the bench. I think he will add great depth. He proved that. And you're going to talk about on the rebounding end, he definitely proved that he can come in there, play rebound, play some defense. Rhett Lavoy Allen coming off the bench. That'll help.
Where are you going to fit Jan Mahimi into this?
I won't. I don't think. I think that man, and it's a shame at the size he is, because he proved, in his first couple of years with Indiana, he was really showing that he could do something, and he contributed. But it seems like he's declining like Roy Hibbert, and he just did not get it done this past year. So unless he blows my mind and proves something different, I'm not going to expect anything of him off the bench, but it would be nice.
Exactly. I think he's too worried about going out and shopping right now. All I see on his Instagram page is him in France, signing new deals and shopping and everything like that. I think that he needs to be in the court working on his game. I mean, you made it to the big leagues, but you need to continue to work on your game to play with the big leagues.
That's right. So you like Lavoy Allen, though, coming off the bench?
I mean, definitely not over Miles Turner. I think Miles Turner definitely needs to have that starting or that backup position. But if they're going to end up doing like a Lavoy Allen and Miles Turner type of thing coming in together, I think that could be a pretty nasty combo right there.
See, I don't know how Vogel will go about it. He has
it's very interesting.
I could see him having Lavoy Allen come in at the 4 to replace Paul George. And quite honestly, I could see him having Jordan Hill come in at the 4 to replace George, and then you've got Miles Turner at the center.
Yeah, it's just a pretty deep power forward position that we have now.
It is, and with this smaller, quicker style of play, I can see Vogel doing that, where he's going to bring between the 4 and 5 position these players off a bench ret. I really do, and to kind of combine this last segment here with this new squad, what offseason moves do you think the Pacers still need to do at what position to just put them over the edge here? Because they do have a little bit of money left. We're not sure of the figures yet, I don't believe, because these deals just happened. but they're not looking at probably more than a couple million, but enough to maybe still sign someone else. What else do you think that they need at what position?
I think the small forward needs to be
Addressed.
Yeah, because I do not think that Chase Budinger or Solomon Hill really is. I don't want to see either one of those really fill a spot. I'm pretty disappointed how Solomon Hill played in the summer league. I mean, you could go out and say that he didn't try, but you're playing against people that are not even in the NBA yet, and you've turned the ball over more times than you have points. So that's pretty pathetic.
Just a little pathetic.
So I would like to see that money be used for something like that. Small forward is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on the small forward position. I really do, because I do think that's what they need. There's not many left. I will say that a lot of them have signed deals already.
Get a veteran. Old guy.
Let me give you a veteran that's still available. Landry Fields from Toronto.
All right, give me a different one.
Okay, James Jones from Cleveland.
Don't like him.
I don't either, but you know what I will say about this guy? I don't like him because he's been on every freaking rival team with LeBron James, it seems. He follows
LeBron.
But what I like about James Jones, he's kind of like the Mike Miller. He's a veteran that will come in and nail and knock down three-pointers.
I don't see in the whole playoffs, I did not see this. I saw the dude maybe hit one.
Yeah,
I feel like every time I watched him,
but that's the point.
He
could be a player that the Pacers get for so cheap, and you never know. I mean, other than that, Jeff Taylor. These are the three free agents left. Everyone else at this small forward type of position has either agreed or is verbally committed to a team to re-sign. That's kind of insane.
It's kind of it's unfortunate.
It really is, isn't it? Let me see here. What exactly? Just to verify, but yes, yep, that's right. Those three. Apparently, J.R. Smith, he has opted out, wants to return, but still has not signed a contract. Let me tell you, I don't want him.
I'll sit him on the bench.
I wouldn't. I don't want this man. Plus, he's really more of a shooting guard.
Him or Swaggy P.
He's more of a shooting guard than he is a small forward. And him or Swaggy P is just two guys I don't want to see on this Pacers team. I think they'd wreck it. Is what I think they would do.
Like a wrecking ball.
You could say that.
It's so hard I fell. I don't know the song.
Exactly. I'm glad you don't. Let me see though, Rhett. Other than that, maybe they could pick up another true point guard. Because aside from a small forward with those names we mentioned, if they're going to get anyone with the money left, well, you want to make it worth it. There's a little bit more options at the point guard position. Here's a guy who maybe would be a good pickup, Norris Cole.
I just don't see a need for a point guard. I just don't.
The only reason I think that it would help, aside from getting a small forward, is the fact that George Hill, we've agreed, is not really a true point guard. He may get more time at the two position, so that only leaves Joe Young,
it also
young
brings
point guard.
It also brings in more like height to the starting lineup with George Hill being in the lineup, and that's what they're going to need because they're playing small either way. So I think that's kind of needed. So
there is the veteran Andre Miller still out there. There is the veteran, well, not the veteran. Well, yeah, you can consider him a veteran. 7 years in the league. John Lucas III. wouldn't be bad pickups. Again, these are guys who the Pacers could sign for the amount of money they have left. You know what? I think I'd be okay with an Andre Miller signing. The guy is a good point guard, and he would be a pickup where the Pacers, he would literally, he is a pass-first mentality type of a guy at this point in his career especially. I think that out of all these names that have been mentioned here, I would like to see the Pacers sign a guy like Andre Miller, a veteran with playoff experience that could come off the bench, and I think it would just benefit Indiana so well, Rhett. But there's not many options that they have. It'll be interesting. Do you think that they sign one more player, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you, yes. And do you think it's going to happen in the next week, by next week's show?
Possibly. I mean, maybe.
Do you think it needs to? Because there's not many names left there.
I think that they don't need to wait, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
maybe
teams are
pulling a
sucking
KJ
them up.
McDaniels.
I think teams are sucking them up like a vacuum cleaner, these players.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these boys are definitely getting sucked up, that's for sure.
That's right.
Oh, gosh. I mean, did you ever think about somebody like Hedo Turkoglu, Kyle? Well, you know, he's a forward, but, you know, he can...
Yeah, no, because of that.
You don't like him?
No.
I mean,
I'd rather have a veteran
play,
like Andre Miller.
I believe he can play the small forward position.
Well, I can guarantee you he would for the Indiana Pacers. But no, I don't want to see it. I'd want to see like an Andre Miller at the point guard, or I'd want to see one of the few small forward backups that the Pacers could get.
All right.
But you know what? The Pacers are deeper, you know, at the small forward position than they are at the point guard, because again, George Hill is not a true point guard, though he's playing that position. You've got only the rookie Joe Young. So I don't know, what will they go that route with a point guard to fulfill the smaller, quicker style of play this next year. I will say this, they're not going to get a quicker style of play out of Andre Miller, but they will get the position that they want with this new style of play, being smaller and a true point guard. That would definitely help Rhett. But you know what? Vogel on this team here says that, you know, after these offseason moves, his task is putting all these pieces back in place. There will be some challenges, he said, but that's what coaching is about, adjusting. Every year you have changes on the roster, and you have to tailor your system to the roster. That's a challenge year in and year out, and that's something I enjoy. And basically, he says, to kind of sum things up, he said, there's probably still some work to be done. This is where it's all going to play out in the next month or maybe two. So, Rhett, that's
interesting. Let's bring Granger back.
Yeah, absolutely. But hearing something like that, Rhett, he's on board. He's ready for these new moves. But he says next month or two, there's still maybe some work to be done. So you get the sense that they will try and sign one more player with the money. But I certainly, Rhett, do not expect it to be a month or two. I don't think there'll be anybody left in a month.
Exactly. You know, I think it needs to happen sooner rather than later. And, you know, when I say soon, I mean now. Because, like you said, they're getting sucked up like a vacuum.
That's right. Absolutely. And that's kind of where things are at now, Rhett. We kind of leave it at that. As next week's show, we'll see what offseason moves continue to happen. What else makes the headlines with this new team, this new squad that Indiana has. But just like that, Rhett, an hour goes by.
Exactly. You know, it went fast. Went fast, Kyle.
It did. We're on track, and that's what happens when we're talking Pacers basketball. We got a lot of things going on in the off season because we get so excited for October to come around, for the new season to start up.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
The month before that.
Don't like preseason, but
not big on preseason, but I do like that these players, especially our young guys, can get experience, and we can see our squad together in game action, Rhett. That's
exactly.
important.
Yeah, that's nice, but I would like to see those drop. So get on with the season.
That's right. Well, Rhett, that's it for tonight. To recap what was talked about on the show, we discussed the Pacers' latest offseason news. We discussed the last of their summer league games. We previewed Indiana's upcoming season with their new squad. And we chatted about offseason moves that still need to happen for the Pacers. That is all that we have for this late night, now into the morning. Thank you for tuning into our show. Feel free to leave any comments. Tweet and retweet the show at Kyle M. Newman, at Rhett Hensley, and at Indiana Pacers Talk. We will try and be back at it next Wednesday by 8 Eastern Time, although no guarantees. We'll let you know on Twitter. I'm Kyle Newman.
And I'm Rhett Hensley.
You all have a great night, and go Pacers.
Go Pacers.